Shalom, shalom. We're live. We're live. This is our weekly Wednesday high noon health watchers get together. But I had to be an hour late today, and I apologize for that. I was working with my little guy. He had VBS and needed to be picked up. So yes. Hi. Okay. So I'm really excited about today. I hope you guys do get on eventually. I know we're still building up a following, and so not a lot of people know about this yet, but tell your friends and log on. I want to address your questions. So just give you a little backdrop. My family and I have been on a health journey for about, well, over 10 years at this point. But within the last 2 years, the Lord brought us to a new understanding of, how to heal your body. And it's been a really exciting time. And we have spent thousands of dollars and thousands of hours learning and healing. And the Father put it in my heart to pass that along to his people, that I felt like he was planting a seed in me that needed to be brought forth, that the fruit needed to be eaten of by his people specifically. So that's why I am on here now every week. And oh my goodness, I forgot last week. I literally forgot. It has been such a crazy few weeks. All my girls are off at music camp this week. It's like 8 a.m. to 8 p.m., Monday through Friday. It's very intensive. And so I'm just so sorry. We were prepping for that and I completely spaced it. And this is actually one of the things that we talk about a lot on this channel, especially during morning prayers, since that's the majority of what we have right now on the channel. But that's developing routines in our lives, which strengthen our muscles spiritually as well as physically and help us make good choices when that moment comes that you really want to do something that you shouldn't do, whether that's put food in your mouth that shouldn't be going there, or say something that comes out that shouldn't be coming out. And so developing those muscles, well, obviously I haven't developed the muscle yet for Wednesdays at noon, so I do have it on my schedule. And next week, prayerfully, I'll be more consistent. And as the weeks go along, it'll become just a routine, something that I do every week and something that you do every week. I hope you will join us. Outside of people's questions that get posted, if and when that happens, today's topic that I wanted to talk about is the pillars of good health. Because that is something that our naturopath chiropractor really hones in on all the time, is what is it that's really going on with our bodies? Why are we unhealthy? And, that looks like a lot of things for a lot of people, but I 1,000% now believe that no matter what your ailment is physically, that it can be healed if you have at least 7 years of life left in you. Because ultimately, time is what our body needs to heal. And I remember when my mom was in her final years of life, and she had really struggled with her health for decades. And she really had kind of a shift in her thinking as far as understanding that good health was maintained with basically what you put in and on your body is what literally keeps your body from falling apart and you dying an early death. And she understood that. And, the weird thing is she understood that 50 years prior to the end of her life. And she used to pour a lot of things good into her life until she got a cancer diagnosis. And so her line of reasoning was, oh, well, because I got cancer, then what I was doing must not have been right. Well, I firmly believe that the reason she lived through her cancer is because she had been doing everything right, and that she got cancer because of one of two things. And I know people will debate with me, but I learned this from Dr. Brett at Divine Design Natural Health, and I believe it, is that cancer comes from two things. It comes from radiation and chemicals. And chemicals we get into all the time, every day, all day, which is what leads me to my first point of one of the pillars of good health, and that is detoxing. Because we get into so much junk every single day. I don't know that there is a way for us to stay away from all chemicals. If nothing else, they're spraying it up above. And so that in and of itself means it's very difficult to get away from. But then there are a lot of things that we just don't even know that we're getting into. You know, it's a process. At the beginning of this health journey, we found out that, you know, our water supply isn't super clean. And so we invested in a water filter. And so, you know, that's a chemical now that has been diminished. But you know, and I can go through a whole laundry list of things that can cause chemical poisoning and therefore cancer. But the reality is that there's a lot of stuff out there that we don't know of. And so we do our best with the things we do know of, and then we detox. And that's actually one of the things that we do on a regular basis at Dr. Brett's office. We go in at least once a month and we do either an ionic foot spa, a PEMF bed, or an infrared sauna. And all three of those are kind of used for different purposes. But if you're doing a detox every month, your body is being helped along in this process of detoxing. The other thing I wanted to address is, why did I say if you have at least 7 years left, you can heal from any ailment? And the reason is that God made it so our bodies actually completely regenerate within 7 years. Isn't that an amazing blessing? So something I mentioned this morning on our morning prayers that our doctor has always said is your health today is a result of the last 7 years of choices that you have made and the things that you've been exposed to. So if you say today is day one and you say, okay, today is the first day of the rest of my life of the next 7 years, and I'm going to make good choices today. And then tomorrow you do the same thing. And then the next day you do the same thing. Our lives are basically the result of all of these little tiny micro choices that we make throughout the day. And I mentioned this on my call this morning, and that's that, do you know that in the course of a day, you make over 30,000 choices? Over 30,000 choices. You have 30,000 times every single day to make good choices or to make bad choices. So you know, that's 7 years that your body rejuvenates. Everything takes different periods of time. So like your eyes may take longer than, say, your, I don't know, your skin, which I have found to be the case. I mean, eyes and skin just take a terribly long time to rejuvenate when given what they need to repair. But anyway, so it's kind of this race against the clock in a way, is that we know the Father has numbered our days. So we know that we only have a certain number of days, but do we want, what do we want those days to look like? Do we want them to be profitable for the kingdom, where we are able to serve and give and bless people every day of that life and climb a mountain at the end of it, like Moses, and bless people in that way? Or do we want the majority of our lives to be lived in bed and in hospital rooms and in doctors' offices? You know, as for me and my house, about 2 years ago, I decided that that was not going to be my life. I wanted a life that I was able to serve, a life that I was able to be healthy. And to be honest with you, I have to say, when I started this journey 2 years ago, a life of serving felt overwhelming. I felt like that's really tiring. I don't, I want to serve in my brain, but that just seems like too much because I was sick at the time. I couldn't even get my head around, having enough strength to be able to serve others. And it's been amazing over the last 2 years, year and a half, 2 years. It'll be 2 years in October, I guess. So year and a half now. Um, like that's been a seed in my heart now that is starting to bring forth fruit that I'm excited to serve. I'm looking for opportunities to serve. I'm looking for that type of engagement, and the Father is using our family more and more in that way, and we're able to respond. So my prayer for you is that you get to that point that you won't be just surviving, that you will be thriving, that you will be healthy to the point that you're not having to think about yourself constantly and how you feel, how awful you feel, and how, or serving your children who are very sick as well. Which, by the way, Dr. Brett teaches us why our children are sicker than we are. Um, and it all has to do with nutrients and toxins. So um, let me move on to the next point of the next pillar of good health. So we have those toxins and we need to diminish those toxins. A lot of those toxins are in the food that we eat. All the processed food has toxins in it. And a lot of the unprocessed food, like even cores of our diet, like meat and vegetables, have been sprayed or shot up with. I hope I don't get taken off of YouTube for using that word. Like injected with chemicals, and what the animal has eaten, we eat. We can't avoid animals to eat. We just can't, because our bodies regenerate with, well, if it's a muscle that has gotten ripped, then we need to eat muscle to rejuvenate that. The way the Father did it is that our cells each are for different things. So you have lung cells, you have eyeball cells, you have skin cells, you have bone cells. And so if you are eating bone cells, your bones are what recognize that. Your bones are what are regenerated. If you're eating muscle cells, your body recognizes that, and it's your your muscles that recognize that, and they start getting regenerated. So remember that in this next segment of the other pillar of good health is good food intake. And so you can think of it that every bite you put in your mouth is either giving your body something to build on and get healthier with, or it's just empty calories. It's not doing anything for you. And your body gets more and more depleted. I have an interesting story. When I was 34, I had my first child. And simultaneously, I had never had a cavity in my whole life. In all of 32 years, never had a cavity. And as I grew up, I realized that that's not normal. Like I started hearing people talking about how all the cavities they had, and they were constantly, dealing with drillings and such. And I was like, wow, I'm really glad I don't have to deal with that. That sounds horrendous. That's barbaric. and and I have my mom to thank for that, because she gave us a pretty good foundation of nutrients. But when I was 34, I had my first child. And I remember during the whole of my pregnancy, now granted, I was nauseated the whole pregnancy, which tells me now I was toxic. I needed to detox. I had lots of toxins in my body, and I had this new body forming in my body. And my body was saying, wow, I need to get rid of some really bad toxins you have, because you are growing this other human being in there. That's where nausea comes from. Regardless, I didn't know that at the time. And so I was nauseated, and I was just trying to find something that I thought would make me feel better and put some food in my belly and nourish me. Guess what I picked? Frosted Flakes with store-bought milk for 9 months. Every night after everyone had gone to bed, maybe 1 o'clock in the morning, I would fall asleep and wake up in the middle of the night. And I would have a bowl of Frosted Flakes. I was hungry when I would wake up in the middle of the night, which now I understand it's because I wasn't getting the nutrients I needed during the day to grow this little human in me. So I would wake up in the middle of the night and I would have a bowl of Frosted Flakes with store-bought milk, whole milk, because I knew that at least. And it would give me enough to go back to bed and fall asleep until the next morning when I was very nauseated growing up. So then fast forward to the end of 9 months and I had my child, and boy, we had all sorts of issues with her birth and pregnancy, but she's grown up now. It's 17 years later and she is doing just fine. Praise the Lord. But promptly after I had my daughter and tried to nurse her for 6 months, it turned out to be, I think, like 3 months. And then I pumped until 9 months. I went to the dentist because I had a terrible toothache. Come to find out, I had 8 cavities. 8 cavities. I had never had a cavity in my life. And then after that pregnancy, sucking all the nutrients out of me, I ended up with 8 cavities. Now, it was at that time that I started realizing what I am eating really affects me. Like I really started realize like that really hit me hard. But I didn't quite understand it because that's just not what our culture teaches us. It just isn't. And it sounds ridiculous to me now because my mom was a home economics major at Purdue University. So she understood what they were teaching at the time as good nutrition. She understood that. And, for the most part, it was pretty good, but it was missing some really key pieces that was keeping people sick, is keeping people sick. And so I went to the dentist and, she said I had 8 cavities. I got them all filled. And then I started on this journey of like, what can I do not to get cavities anymore? And I looked up a book. It's called Heal Tooth Decay Naturally by Ramiel Nagel. And I can put a link in the comments with it. But I read his book front to back and then read it again. I printed off a PDF. I started making highlights. And I was like, that's really interesting. The most interesting part to me was that he traveled around the world. Actually, excuse me. He wrote the book based on the studies of Weston A. Price, who was a dentist who traveled around the world, doing his own research as to the indigenous tribes of the world who had 0 tooth decay. 0. And so he looked at their diets and he was seeing this pattern of whole natural foods that were not processed, and that the result were all these people with really strong teeth. Okay, fast forward 15 years later. I promptly forgot about that information and continued living my life how I wanted to live it. And 15 years later, our whole family was terribly sick. Started crying out to the Lord about it. And my testimony is on my main channel, which is Pernack Family Redeemed on YouTube, where I give my testimony and talk about just kind of what brought us to the point of recognizing that we needed to make a major change in our family's life. That's what brought us to Dr. Brett and Divine Design Natural Health. And he literally changed our lives. And it was the Father taking us to him. It has changed our lives. That is the seed I was talking about that I believe he wants for his people. So anyway, so that is where all of this came from. And We are now on almost year two, completion of year two of our healing journey. And you would not believe the things that we are healing from. Everything from gut problems to tooth decay to migraines to uh, incontinence, hyperactivity, ADHD, just everything across the board. But we're all healing in the same way. We are decreasing our toxins and increasing our nutrients. Now, increasing your nutrients looks like two things. It can look like the food you put in your mouth, number one, but number two, supplements. Let's talk supplements for a minute. And I can put a link to one of Dr. Brett's teachings about this as well. We will only put in our mouths whole food supplements that we know are organic, that our body can absolutely process. That they know what it is. No synthetic anything at any time. We just stopped doing that completely. Standard Process is the company that we go through, that our doctor referred us to, our naturopathic doctor referred us to. And I know a lot of people that are in the natural movement know about Standard Process. And it is the reason we need to do it. And it's called a supplement because it should only supplement your diet. Last Health Watchers, I talked about smoothies and how smoothies are one of the pillars of good health. They absolutely are. They start your day with this incredible nutrient boost that then your body is able to say, oh, okay, I don't need to like crave bad things for me, at least for the next 4 hours, as long as it's made with good things. And you can go back and look at one of the other last time we did Health Watchers to see the recipe for that and to understand a little bit more about it. But so let's see, what were we talking about? So going back to the supplements. Oh yeah, so there was a study done. I think it was probably at least 10 years ago, if not longer, that they found that an apple from the 1950s had a level of nutrients that you would have to eat something like 11 apples today in order to get those same nutrients. Let that sink in for a minute. And that was, 50 to 60 years prior to that study. I'm sure, it's been at least 10, maybe 20 years since that study. Our ground is probably even more depleted than it was back then. And the Father told us every 7 years, you need to let your land rest. And he knew why. You let it rest. It grows up, it dies, and it rejuvenates that ground. And that ground is what feeds us. It's what gives us nutrients. So anyway, in 2026, we are now dealing with an incredibly depleted soil everywhere, unless you're growing your own food and you know what goes into the soil. And so our doctor told us, our naturopath doctor told us, there is no way you can eat the volume of food that you need in order to thrive. There's just no way. And so we have made this a part of our daily lives now for 2 years, where we all have our whole food supplements from Standard Process. And we take them and we know exactly what we need. Our body tells us when our doctor does muscle testing. I don't know how you feel about that. We've done a lot of studying into it. I feel like it's how the Father designed our bodies to work. And we've just learned how to interpret those responses. It's just testing your muscles. When you are given something that is harmful, your muscles actually get weaker. And you can feel that. When you're given something that's healthy and life-fulfilling, your muscles get stronger and they respond to muscle testing that way. So that's all it is. So once a month we go in and Dr. Brett tests our muscles. I am actually, I've gotten not fully certified, but I've taken some training courses in muscle testing. And I need to refine it more and practice it more before I'm able to offer that to friends and family that are around. But it is so, so helpful because then your body just tells you what it needs at any given time. So you're not just like taking supplements upon supplements, spending hundreds of dollars on, you don't even know if you need it, but you're guessing. It's kind of like a shot in the dark. That's how I felt before this whole journey started. I felt like it was a whack-a-mole. I'm like whacking. I have no idea what I'm doing. I'm just trying different things, seeing if my body responds. So now I have a tool. And I kept praying. I'm like, Father, give us the tools we need to tell us what our bodies need. Give us those tools, because without the tools, we're not going to succeed. So, knowing the supplements that you need to take in order to survive, in order to thrive, to supplement the good food that you're eating, that is another pillar of health, 100,000%. So we talked today about detoxing, getting rid of the chemicals in our food and air and water. We talked about taking a good supplement. And then third, we talked about good food. And part of that good food is those smoothies, you guys. You got to get on the smoothies. And all that information is on my smoothie, the smoothie Q&A that we did last week, or I guess it was 2 weeks ago now. You can find all that information there. But that just kind of gives you an overview of the pillars of good health. And so I really hope you found this helpful today. We don't have any questions on the board right now, so it looks like we're going to be winding down here. And thank you so much for joining me today. I hope you are greatly blessed, and that this seed that I'm planting in you grows, and that you know you can heal from anything if you have at least 7 years of life left. And if you don't have 7 years, you can greatly improve your health on day one if you just make a different choice. So if you have questions about those choices and what is life-fulfilling, life-giving in as far as what you put in your mouth, feel free to put it in the comments down below, and I will address those as I see them come up. Otherwise, until next time, next week, high noon on Temple Watchers here on YouTube. I hope to see you then, and I hope you have shalom, and join us every day on my other channel right now. So real quick, just as the final wrap up, on our other channel, Pernack Family Redeemed, we are doing a live morning prayer every morning. And we're not doing it here on Temple Watchers because, you know what? I just realized I think I'm live on my main channel right now. I meant to go live on my Temple Watchers channel, but regardless, we will be over at Temple Watchers next week. But we are, oh, maybe we won't actually. Okay, I'm looking at this. Yeah, so the situation is templewatchers.com or Temple Watchers at YouTube does not have 50 subscribers yet. So if you haven't subscribed yet, please go over there and subscribe. As soon as we have 50 subscribers, we can live stream there. Until then, we are live streaming here, which is our primary channel, Pernack Family Redeemed. And sorry for the confusion. I think I've been like talking as if we were on Temple Watchers this entire time. I apologize. We are on Pernack Family Redeemed right now. And as soon as we have 50 subscribers over on Temple Watchers, we will be moving all of our Health Watchers live streams over there. So in addition to that, every morning we're doing morning prayers. And let me tell you why you need to be there. Because we need to develop these muscles of discipline that help us make good decisions as far as what we put in our mouth every day, that it would be healing for our bodies. But if we don't make those connections and strengthen those muscles spiritually, it'll be much more difficult physically. So remember that next time when you feel like I have no discipline, I just keep making the wrong decisions as far as what I'm eating. It's probably because you're not disciplined spiritually. So discipline yourself spiritually in something, whether that's morning prayers or reading scripture every day or fasting regularly, whatever that is. Find a spiritual discipline that you are strengthening that muscle of discipline, and you will see results physically. And you will have an easier time making good choices as far as what goes in your mouth. So, thank you again for joining me. I hope you're greatly blessed by this. And until next time, shalom, shalom.